European Union and the United States have agreed to a broad trade agreement that sets a 15% tariff on most European goods, including cars and pharmaceuticals. This potentially averts what could have become a painful trade war between two of the largest trading partners. Europe, in fact, happens to be America's single biggest source of imports.
It's a giant deal with lots of countries.
President Donald Trump said that the European Union had agreed to purchase $750 billion of American energy. Ursula von der Leyen, who is the president of the European Commission, has said that these imports of American energy would be spread out over the next 3 years. That happens to be the remainder of President Trump's term in office. The 27-member bloc has also agreed to increase its investments in the United States by more than $600 billion. Trump has said that the European Union would buy American military equipment. A senior US official speaking to the New York Times has said that those investments would include pharmaceuticals and automotives, on both of which there are separate levies. The two sides have also agreed to drop tariffs to zero on a range of goods, including aircraft, plane parts, chemicals, generic drugs, semiconductors, and some agricultural products.
Thank you very much. So we have good news. We've reached a deal. It's a good deal for everybody, I believe. And I think you were saying this is probably the biggest deal ever reached in any capacity, trade or beyond trade.
It is.
It's a giant deal with lots of countries.
Altogether, while it was clear that major details still need to be hammered out, the framework seemed likely to permanently reshape the trading relationship between two of the largest and most interconnected economies in the world. Trade between America and Europe was close to $1 trillion in 2024, with the bulk of imports, more than $600 billion, being imported from Europe into America. This trade agreement will help rebalance and also better enable trade on both sides. Not all higher tariffs have been eliminated, though. A senior American official has said that the 50% tariff that the Trump administration had imposed on steel and aluminum and copper globally, that is not part of the America-Europe deal. That will continue. European pharmaceuticals and semiconductor exports will be subject to a 15% tariff, regardless of what other tariffs the Trump administration ultimately levies on those industries. The Trump administration is currently preparing an investigation that will apply tariffs to pharmaceuticals and to semiconductors globally, but Europe will be kept out of it. Pharmaceuticals happen to be Europe's most important export to the United States, and those pending tariffs had become a serious obstacle in the trade talks between Brussels and Washington.
And the beverage food, sorry. The 0 for 0, does it include alcohol, spirits and wine?
No, there's no decision on that one. This is something which has to be sorted out in the next days.
Von der Leyen also said that no decision had been made yet on whether or not wine and spirits would be exempt. That is something that has to be sorted out in the next few days. Europe exported more than $8 billion of wine and spirits into America in 2024. Like many preliminary agreements which Trump has announced, this one too was sparse on details. For some of the deals that Trump has reached, whether it's with Indonesia or Vietnam, those other governments seem to lack clarity on what exactly they agreed to. It remains unclear which tariff rates will apply to which products starting the 1st of August. Nonetheless, the trade deal between America and Europe could bring a measure of calm to one of the world's most important economic relationships. It could also allay fears of an escalating trade war across the Atlantic. The European Union last year accounted for nearly $610 billion of the $3.3 trillion of goods that were imported by the United States. American exports to Europe were much lower at a little over $300 billion. The 15% tariff rate that is given to Europe mirrors the main tariff rate in the US-Japan trade agreement that was announced last week. It is also lower than the 19% and 20% rates that have been imposed on several Southeast Asian countries like Indonesia and Vietnam. America is also concerned about what it calls transshipment, where Chinese goods are rerouted through third countries, particularly in Asia, and then exported into the United States. This rate of 15% is also much higher than the tariffs which have been historically low. According to the World Trade Organization, before Donald Trump came into office, the trade-weighted tariff that America charged on foreign goods was 2.2%, while for the European Union, it was closer to 3%. Now it is on average 15%. The deal followed weeks of unpredictable talks and back and forth between negotiators of both sides. The Europeans believed they were close to a deal, only for Trump to then send them a letter that he sent earlier in July, threatening a flat rate of 30% tariff on all European exports into America unless an agreement was reached by the 1st of August. This new deal may prevent any retaliatory tariffs and also avoid a tit-for-tat trade war that could have been economically damaging for both sides as well as for global markets. A trade conflict could also have further soured both the European Union and America's relationship, which already is strained. There are a number of issues, including military spending. Trump wants all European countries to raise their defense spending to above 2% of GDP. There's also support, particularly arms support for Ukraine, which had divided America and Europe. There are other issues like free speech and tech regulation, all of which had become problem areas. Markets across Asia and Europe reacted positively to the trade deal between Washington and Brussels, thereby easing concerns of any impending trade war starting next month.
Thank you.
One thing, though, remains to be seen. Trump is offering a differential tariff to partner countries like Japan, the European Union. Will he tariff Chinese goods at a much higher rate, thereby making Chinese imports into America much less competitive than importing from these partner countries? Ultimately, the entire objective of this painful tariff exercise is to rebalance global trade and make it a more level playing field, reducing the world's dependence on cheap, made-in-China goods. But we will not know the result of that until later this year to know whether or not there is a steep differential in these tariff rates between America's partner countries and China, or whether or not China's cheap labor and technological advancements continue to make Made in China globally popular.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.